Cults. A relatively small group of people that have religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister. Nobody's surprised to hear that strange communities have existed on the internet for as long as the internet itself has existed. Cults, however, are a little bit more than just a strange community. When applying this definition to reality though, you start realizing that there are many things around us and around the internet that can qualify to being of cultish nature to a certain extent. This, however, can manifest itself in many different ways, some more dangerous than others, and as you will see from this video, cults and cultish ideologies are actually all over the internet. Some of them are so well hidden that not even their own members realize that they're in one. In my previous video, we went over the hidden side of online New Age communities, focusing mainly on Discord and YouTube. We uncovered that many spiritual Discord servers were abusing their power and influence over their members to brainwash, scam, harass, and even groom them. In this video documentary, we're gonna dive a bit deeper into the world of New Age movements on the internet, learning about it and uncovering its many secrets and stories in the process.
Yeah, good point, because I think it's kind of out there and you sort of see it all over different channels and so on. People talk about the secured party creditor process and nobody really allows you to understand what that is. So the secured party process is actually a process of going from being dead, a debtor, to being alive. And so most people are aware that there is a straw man out there. Most people are aware that that's a debtor situation that we're in, that we're enslaved to that straw man. Most people are aware there is a process that you can go through to become a creditor, move out of the public into the private. And so the secured party process is really three things. The first is to firstly correct your status, and that's done by an affidavit. And that's like saying, hey, I'm alive.
I've been alive since I was born, and I'm not lost at sea. It's me. I'm a living man. I'm a living woman. And the second thing
is to notify people. So we have a whole process with templates and so on, helping you to put on notice to internationally and also nationally to our Australian ministers. So we go to like 19 different ministers in Australia and a whole bunch overseas to put that in notice. It's like saying, I am alive, but it's no point in just saying you're alive if nobody knows about it. So then we send letters out. We just put people on notice, and then we go through setting up protections. So we use the PPSR, which a lot of people are aware of, UCC. We have security agreements. We do things, we post from ourselves to ourselves. We use the postal system. We help people to move into the banking world privately through unincorporated associations, unincorporated members associations. And we also are working towards things like being able to access your trust through bonds and working into the court of equity. So there's a whole series of things, but the main thing is you come alive, tell the world, and then you go about claiming and putting into action the remedies of being alive and no longer a debtor.
We want to clearly have an understanding or a comprehension of what the word private means. It is private in the sense of not belonging to the public or to the state, the legal state. It is one's own. There's no possible way you can be private and be public at the same time. That's like being armed and unarmed at the same time. So there is a confusion in this, because this seems to be where the I'd say the greatest amount of misunderstanding on what is truly private. If you did not have something that was private or your own, you wouldn't be able to make a choice on where you're going to go. So if you choose the proper side where your private name originated from, you will choose the sovereignty of God. If you choose basically to go against that, then you would choose to put it and elect into something that's not yours, which belongs to the fiction. And therefore you become the property of the legal state operated by those who are legalists, which are those of a satanic direction. They are the devil's advocates. So once we see that, then we can clearly understand why it's one's own, it's peculiar, why God chose a peculiar people, why Scripture said, "Be ye separate." Separate means private. It's not public, but it's not private within the legal sense. It has nothing to do with legal. So we know there's a lot of people that are trying to think that there's some kind of like underworld government that they can become part of and play both sides still, trying to be private within the public sphere. But that's definitely a monetary misconception because they're still staying within what is not real. So we want to make sure that we have a comprehension of private. Private is one's own. It's something that was given to you as a gift so that you have free will to make a choice between what is right and what is wrong.
Most of us just kind of are in this matrix where we're thinking a certain way, and the beauty of the Living Council is that you're educated to start with. So you firstly learn to, oh my gosh, I can take a pill and I can discover that there is this thing called the matrix and I can get out of it, and there is another way of operating. So that's probably the first thing, is the education and the mindset, the change of thinking. And then the other thing that the Living Council does is it provides you with a community of people who are just like you, just like me, and we're all in the boat together. And as a community, you know, there's power in numbers, eh?
Good question. Are you free bearing a legal surname? Everything that the system that you operate in commerce, banking, doing anything that you would basically be involved in within a legal construct run by lawyers is not free, because it's opposite to free grace. We dealt with that in a video in Noah Webster's 1828 under the definition of legal, and of course when we got into the definitions that clearly showed us the difference between legal and free grace, legal showed itself to be in opposition to that. So we're not in free grace. We're not in something that is based on the grace of Jesus Christ and his ransom sacrifice. Legalists and the lawyers system of the world operate in opposition to that. So when you're a legal public member, despite what your church leader may tell you is okay to be, because he'll be misreading Romans 13, that you're supposed to be a member of this in order to remain in grace with God, but that would make no sense, because God does not use a legal construct that denies the blood of his son. So are you truly free in the sense of legalism? Well, no, it's a perversion of God's law. It perverts the concept of the fulfillment of God's law, which was through Jesus Christ, who canceled out all debt. Therefore, if you're bearing a legal title and you're suretying it, which is what anybody would be doing based on picture and signature, you're actually endorsing humanism, which denies the divinity of Jesus Christ and says that man can perfect himself and can work out his own problems through a commercialized avenue. So when we get to this situation where we see convoys in Canada with people that run those convoys who are actually being railroaded through the legal system because they're legal, and then they think that they've actually martyred themselves for a cause, they don't realize that they are not part of a legal construct. They weren't born into legal. They became legal by their consent and lack of knowledge. And therefore, when they're yelling out freedom in a legal system that actually means a debtor, what a complete oxymoron of hypocrisy to actually have the lack of knowledge to yell that out in ignorance, thinking that they're free, thinking that Canada was free, thinking that the United States was free. There is nothing free and legal. Legal is to collect. It's based on monetary commercialism and idolatry, worshiping the god of money. So we have to be really certain what direction we're going. But certainly, when we ask that question on there, could you be at all possibly free bearing a legal title that says you're a debtor? Absolutely not.
The danger, then, of cryptomnesia is twofold. Not only are we biologically predisposed to ignore the ideas of people who don't look like us, but in cases where we do adopt those ideas, it's unlikely that we'll give them credit. The effect is a pathological undervaluing of minority activists, thinkers, and artists, leaving them in danger of being forgotten in spite of their contributions. Nearly everyone knows the name George Harrison, and if you don't, you definitely have heard of the Beatles, but I doubt you've ever heard of Ronnie Mack. If proper recognition isn't given to the people who deserve it, it only serves to prop up existing power structures, while perpetuating discrimination. In other words, it helps maintain the status quo. But how do we combat our bias? How do we stop ourselves from falling into the trap of cryptomnesia? One easy way is by going back and consciously reviewing material. Research has shown that this can reduce rates of cryptomnesia by 2/3. This kind of deliberate introspection, where you occasionally ask yourself where you've acquired certain information or beliefs, can help decrease derivative thinking. What's even better, we can actually use this knowledge to help change people's views of minority groups. Butera's 2017 study on social cryptomnesia also found that when participants were made aware of the disconnect between their beliefs and their attitudes towards the feminists that first fought for those same beliefs, their opinions of the group improved. We'll never be able to completely eliminate cryptomnesia, but with a bit of mindfulness, we can avoid its worst consequences, and perhaps even use this knowledge to help change people's minds for the better.
use of copyrighted material for services of the Crown. Now, you're in service of the Crown when you hold that birth certificate because you're holding it and it's theirs. So I'll read it to you because it's pretty important, this one. Number 1, 183.1. The copyright in literature, dramatic music, or artistic work of a published edition of such a work, or in a sound recording, cinematograph, film, television broadcast, or sound broadcast, is not infringed by the Commonwealth, state, or by a person authorised in writing by the Commonwealth or a state doing any act comprised in the copyright if the acts are done for the services of the Commonwealth of the state. So that's what you're considered doing. You're a volunteer Crown entity holder. So there you go. Make of that what you will. That's a big one. Yeah. So they're saying you're not infringing the copyright if you're doing it for the Crown. So you have to have an agreement with the Crown if you actually want to do it and not be in service with them. So I'm pretty sure I'll have to go with that one, but I'm pretty sure that's what that one's saying. It does say by a state there, and it doesn't say birth certificates are exempt. Yeah, it says literary work up there, so that covers your birth certificate because it's not yours, it's theirs. They own it under 176. There is in here another little section, I won't go to it, but it tells you that if they sign it, that's considered to be evidence of who is the author or artist of that work. So that's another one you can throw at them. And this is 192J of the Crimes Act 1900 New South Wales. It's 514 in Queensland, and I'm assuming every state and territory would have a very similar law. A person who deals with identification information with the intention of committing or of facilitating the commission of an indictable offence is guilty of an offence. Maximum imprisonment for 10 years. So you do actually have to be wanting to commit an indictable offence, but I could probably come up with a couple that you are committing while you're holding that. One of them is invading this land, which is an indictable offence under the Rome Statute, Section 8B15, I think it is, where they're forcing conscription to make, people who are out to turn them into Australians so that they are then in the Australian military / government, which is invading this land from Norfolk Island as a Citus Trust Corporation. So it's actually illegal to use your birth certificate. That's what those big billboards in the UK were, it's illegal to use a legal name because it's not your legal name. And I think the Copyright Act really proves it, guys.
We have to remember that even in the concept of what we call a legal person or a natural legal surname person, which they call a natural person in the legal concept, it cannot work without a man consenting to be involved in this. So it's a man bearing a legal persona of the legal system in order to act in that system. And it comes with consequences. People say, I can be that legal person. It's not a problem. But when it represents fiction, a lie, debt, everything that's contrary to what God originally created, we're in a problem there to even think that that's going to not happen in our activity in that without consequences. So a man and those who act as legal persons cannot turn God's gift of free creation into legal recreation. That's entertainment, because that's all the world of the fiction is. It's nothing more than entertainment. It's not real, and it will bring about serious consequences, which is what's happened. So look at the earth today. What has not happened that has not bared a total burden of reality that has shown what man does when he defies God, turns his natural creation into commerce, trees, water, air, all the elements that come free from the earth. And then we turn it into some commodity, and then we start to sell it, and we rape it, and then we do it at a level that it doesn't even reach people that were supposed to receive it, even in the purchasing level, because there's so much waste that happens even in retail stores when they're trying to sell items, because they've taken it in a level that was not from people naturally harvesting it. It's from basically the sale aspect of it, and then trying to bring it to a location. And if there is no sale, then it spoils, and then it ends up in a garbage, dump or a dumpster. So that's nothing to do with how God would have had man live on the earth. Man would have picked and used what he needed. He never had to take beyond. He didn't do it for sale or commerce. And therefore, everything would have been balanced. But the world we live in today is working contrary to it. It's working for greed. It's working for commerce. It's working for unnatural gain. And this is part of Satan's disaster suicide mission, that he's got all those who join in with him to basically eventually experience and then have a terrible outcome. It was not God's purpose for this to happen. Therefore, all those who basically perpetrate a system like this, and again, we're back to the lawyers, because they perpetrate the idea of basically commerce, money, greed, making wealth, and therefore taking what is a free gift from God and converting it into something very perverted, very evil, and then using it to one's own demise. So this is what we're experiencing. There is no natural concept of money. You cannot rationalize it without actually walking in error. You cannot take something that is fictitious and bring it into truth. It's not truthful, therefore it can only bring disaster. A lie is a lie, and we have to be concerned, could a lie really live?
The quest for spiritual awakening has often been intertwined with the exploration of reality's nature. Although the simulation hypothesis is technologically framed, it echoes ancient concerns about world authenticity. René Descartes once said, "If you would be a real seeker after truth, it is necessary that at least once in your life you doubt, as far as possible, all things." By doubting everything that could possibly be doubted, Descartes arrived at a single indubitable truth: cogito, ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. In a potentially simulated existence, the foundational insight that the thinking self exists is a beacon for navigating uncertain waters. It suggests that while the external world and our perceptions of it might be illusions, the consciousness that perceives is real. Descartes' exploration paves the way for a deeper inquiry into the nature of consciousness and its place within or beyond a simulated reality. If our reality is indeed a construct, as the simulation hypothesis posits, then understanding the nature of the consciousness experiencing this reality becomes paramount. An effort to understand mirrors the spiritual journey, where the pursuit of truth leads inward to the essence of self, independent of external illusions. The Cartesian method of systematic doubt does not merely dismantle the assumed reality of the physical world. It also sets the stage for a profound realization that the essence of self, the I that thinks and perceives, might hold the key to transcending the boundaries of the simulation. This inward journey, inspired by Cartesian doubt, resonates with the essence of spiritual awakening in the Western tradition. It suggests that liberation from the illusions of the world, including the potential illusion of a simulated existence, lies not in the external verification of reality, but in the recognition of the consciousness that experiences reality. A recognition such as this is consistent with the ancient philosophical search for a timeless truth in the midst of the world's transient phenomena. By turning the focus inward, the seeker encounters the only aspect of existence that remains constant, the self-aware consciousness. In this light, the simulation hypothesis serves not as a modern conundrum, but as a contemporary expression of a timeless spiritual challenge, to discover the essence of being that transcends the fleeting illusions of reality. The journey toward uncovering base reality, amidst the bewildering possibility that our existence is a simulated construct, harks back to an age-old philosophical endeavor, the search for an immutable eternal truth that underpins the ever-changing phenomena of the world. This quest, invigorated by the simulation hypothesis, challenges us to redefine our understanding of reality and to discern the foundational bedrock upon which all existence might be grounded. Ancient wisdom and modern contemplations converge on the premise that if something possesses a beginning and an end, it cannot constitute the ultimate reality. Such transience points to a deeper, unchanging reality that persists beyond the temporal bounds of birth and decay. The question then becomes, what aspect of our experience remains constant, unaltered by the vicissitudes of life and untouched by the layers of simulation? In grappling with this question, the notion of consciousness as a candidate for base reality emerges with compelling force. Despite fluctuations in awareness and states of consciousness, there exists a continuous sense of I am, a fundamental awareness of existence that underlies every experience. This persistent self-awareness suggests a dimension of reality that is not contingent upon the physical or simulated constructs, but is intrinsic to the very fabric of existence. So in order to reach base reality, one must go beyond identification with material or simulated layers of existence to introspection. By peeling away the layers of perceived reality, whether they be physical phenomena, mental constructs, or simulated environments, the seeker is drawn into a deeper exploration of what it means to exist. As a result of this journey, we discover that the essence of reality may not lie in the external world of changing forms and phenomena, but in the unchanging, eternal nature of consciousness itself. Emerging from the quest for base reality, self-inquiry stands out as a profound and direct path to transcendence. It beckons the individual to delve into the heart of their own existence, questioning the very nature of the I that perceives, thinks, and exists within or perhaps beyond the simulated veneer of reality. Rooted in ancient philosophical traditions, yet strikingly relevant in the context of modern discussions on simulation, this practice invites a radical introspection that can dismantle the illusions we often mistake for our true selves. Engaging in self-inquiry, one embarks on a journey to peel back the layers of identity, belief, and perception, aiming to uncover the unadulterated essence of consciousness that lies beneath. As the inward gaze deepens, a transformative realization unfolds. The sense of individual existence, the I am, often thought to anchor us to our reality, may itself be a construct, an illusion as transient as the simulated world we seek to transcend. Yet paradoxically, within this realization lies the key to liberation. By steadfastly questioning who am I, beyond the confines of body, mind, and the presumed simulation, a shift occurs. The seeker begins to touch upon a realm of understanding where the distinction between the simulator and the simulated blurs. Here, in the silent acknowledgement of consciousness that precedes form and phenomenon, one finds a profound freedom. This liberation does not hinge on escaping the simulation in a literal sense, but on transcending the limitations it imposes on awareness. In this space of boundless consciousness, the simulation, with all its complexity and intrigue, appears as but one of myriad expressions of the underlying reality. Ultimately, the realization that emerges is that the essence of our being is not confined by the bounds of a simulated reality. An endless openness, the nothingness from and to which all existence springs, is the ultimate ground of all existence. This profound insight reveals that liberation lies not in deciphering the nature of the simulation, but in recognizing and embodying the boundless nature of the self. In order to elude the simulation, the ancient secret is to realize that the self transcends all constructs and forms, including simulated reality itself. In synthesizing these insights, it becomes evident that the path to freedom from the simulation is not through technological means or intellectual understanding alone, but through the timeless journey of spiritual awakening. The ancient practices and philosophies, from the meditative inquiries of the East to the allegorical explorations of the West, offer the keys to unlocking a deeper understanding of reality, encouraging a re-evaluation of existence and our place within it.